Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome again to the Synergy training. We are waiting for everybody to join. So Mandy is going to be helping me with the Q&A. Mandy, let me upgrade you to panelist. So welcome, everyone. I see some familiar names, and to anyone who's joining for the first time. Let us know your questions. Hi, Claudia. And Wilma is here. Wilma sent me a couple of questions. Thank you, Wilma. I will try and show them today as part of the training. And then one other person, yes, Dr. Ranjit is here too. He also sent me a question. So it's really good if you guys, anyone and your friends who might be using the program, if you send me questions ahead of time, because then I can bring the answers to the training. Okay, so hi, I'm going to share my screen so you can all see the program. Actually, let me share my desktop because this way you can see the program menu. Joanne, if you have anything to ask or comment, could you please just put it in the chat or in the Q&A box? And Mandy is with me and she will help me to reach all of the questions that you might have. So I'm going to just reshare my desktop so you can see there. So now you should be able to see the menu at the top. That is the program menu. So if I just share the Viva window, you don't see what I might be doing up here. Okay, so here now we have the Viva menu up there. So I think if no one minds, and possibly I can see a lot of people who have attended before and also some new names. So I'm assuming that everybody is at sort of a different level of experience with the program. And so sort of instead of starting from scratch or having a program in mind, which I do, I want to start with the questions that Wilma and Ranjit sent in. And then after that, we'll see if there are more questions. And if not, then I can also jump into just little sort of tips and tricks about the program that maybe you don't know that might help in your working of the program. So Ranjit had asked, is it possible to extract just the single remedy rubrics of a remedy from a repertory? So he doesn't want to see everything. He only wants to see those rubrics in which that remedy is the only remedy. So one remedy rubrics. And he had suggested Ruta as an example. So I want to show you how to do that. It's a really wonderful feature. And what you would do is come here to advanced search. And then you go to search remedies. And so here I am. And so what I'm going to do is, let's take that out because there might be a previous filter that I ran. And here we are going to type the remedy that we want to search. So he wants to, for example, he wants to look at Ruta. So we did Ruta up here in the remedy. And once you pick a remedy, or you can also pick multiple remedies, this will turn pink or purple as you see it in your computer. And then he wants to do it for one of the completes. So he uses the complete. So I'm going to just take the complete now. Understand that the complete is a much larger compilation repertory compared to other repertories that we have or have access to. So there are the rubrics in there are much larger. And so that means that your search is going to yield a much larger result, which means it will run for longer. I'm assuming that he wants to run it for all sections. I'm going to not run it for all sections because then it might truly be a long search. Ruta is not that small a remedy. I think it has, it's an average size remedy. So I'm going to just change it to mind. But Ranjit, when you run this search, if you want it for all sections, you can certainly change this to all sections. Um, and then match at least one. That doesn't actually work here because we only picked one remedy. If I had picked, for example, three remedies, then match at least one means it would also pull up rubrics in which one of those three remedies was there. So in this case, it doesn't matter. And then this is what we are really interested in, remedies in rubrics. And what we want to pick here is one. So we only want the single remedy rubrics. So now I have Ruta, I have the repertory, I have the section, and I have at least, not at least, I have only the single remedy rubrics. And I'm just, so you see when I do that, it comes up here, and then I'm going to hit search. And there we are. So because I only did the mind section, it's only giving me the single remedy rubrics for Ruta in the mind section. So that, I mean, that wasn't a huge result. So let's say you change your mind, you can go back to advanced search remedies. Your search is still there. You can see that. So what I could do is I could try and run it for all sections. And it doesn't matter now because I'm running it for all sections. I don't really care about keeping the mind rubrics because they will appear again. But let's say I had changed this to abdomen and I wanted to keep the mind rubrics, then I would hit the plus sign. And then what it would do is run the search on a separate tab. And that way you would have two tabs, one for the mind and one for the abdomen. But in this case, I'm just going to overwrite the previous search. So I will click on search. And you see it pulls up all the sections. And so now I've got mind. When I click on vertigo, it will run. No single remedy rubrics for vertigo for Ruta. Let's choose, this will probably actually be much larger, right? Because we know Ruta as a musculoskeletal, specialty remedy. So I'm going to do extremities. And then see, see, so there are a lot more single remedy rubrics for Ruta in extremities. So that's how you would do it. Ranjit, if there's any part of it or anybody else that didn't understand that, just let me know in the chat or in the Q&A. But that was the question that Ranjit had sent in. And then, so let's exit that. And then Wilma had sent in two questions. One is, how can she apply a filter for DAM nosodes, or what we call in North America, bowel nosodes? So there are, I check the program and I know that there are filters for nosodes and sarcodes in the program. So remedies made from diseased tissue and healthy tissue. And bowel nosodes are, at the moment, actually nested inside nosodes. So let me show you. There are two places to find bowel nosodes. So one is, of course, here in the kingdom graph. And you can come here and look at all the bowel nosode remedies and relationships. And so here you have the remedies, Morgan, Gertner, and then there are, sub remedies under Morgan and Gertner and Sophie Callis, and all the others. So you have the remedies here. And then if you go, let's say you were to apply a filter just here in your remedy section. So now I'm in the reference library with the remedy view. I can go to the filter button. I can come to kingdom. And you see there is a filter here, apply filter of this category, human nosodes. If I apply this filter, then the remedies are restricted to human nosodes. and I will click apply. And so now if you go through, these should be, so let's see, wait, let's go back here. Kingdom, filter, apply, and then select all, apply. So here you can see you have some of the, Gertner by Bach, but they are mixed in with the other nosode remedies, Morgan Gertner, but then of course you have meningococcinum, you have the other disease tissue remedies. So and we have requested to have a separate bowel nosode filter. So that should come. But in the meantime, one other option would be to come here into advanced search again. And you see you have the choice to make a custom filter. So you can say add custom filter and name it. So I already tried to create, let me delete mine and then I can show how to do it. So so go back to custom filter and you can say, you can create your own custom filter. And then I'm going to just say Bach, for example, and then see if any of the Bach, here we go, Gertner, and then Morgan Bach. I don't know if I can try to see if I can choose more than one remedy at a time. I don't think it lets me because as soon as I select, there we go. So let's see. And then let's see if there's another Bach that we could pick up. That's it. So then I'm now going to go to Patterson. And then here we go, Patterson. I'm just putting a bunch of remedies that I know are in the bowel nosodes. Right here. And then we've got, okay. So I haven't put in all, I've got Morgenbach, I've got Morgan Pure, I've got Gertner. I'm probably missing a couple more. Okay. But I'm just going to click on apply. Wilma, when you do it, you can have a more complete list. So now now if I go in here and want to filter, you see I have a category here, custom filters. And I have my own created category. I say bowel nosodes and I say apply. And you see the 5, 6 remedies that I put show up. And so and this is a permanent filter. So when you exit the program, it's still going to be there. And that's your own, and you can create any custom filters. And put any remedies in there that you want, and it's just your filter. And every time you want to filter, so I was doing, okay, I was running this search here. So let's say, let me move this aside so I can show you what I'm doing. So here also, let's say excitable, let's say that's the search I want to run. And then I can apply a custom filter. Bowel nosodes, apply. And remember, in the search, we did the single remedy rubrics for Ruta. So I'm not going to click on search because this would override that tab. So I will do open in a new tab, you see? And then here, you see, I ran excitable and it pulled up all of the rubrics that apply to the custom filter, which is bowel nosodes. So here we go. We have all of these other rubrics. I think it also ran a reference library search. Oh, I didn't apply the filter on reference library. So let me show you what I did in case people didn't understand the issue here. So when I ran the search, you can apply the filter and you can see that it's only applied to repertories. So that's why when it ran the search, it applied it only for the repertory search, but not for the reference library search. So now if I apply it to reference library, apply, now it's applied to both. And if I rerun the search this time, I get my rubrics again, but this time the reference library, there are only 3 remedies for excitable. And they are Cisco, Gertner, and Morgan. And then you can take this result, let's put it on another clipboard, which is clean. I can just add this to the clipboard, and I come here and I have these filtered by my custom filter. So you can certainly do that. And once you set it up, I mean, you saw it, it took only about a minute or two to set the custom filter up. That's what I would recommend you do. Okay, and then your second question was about, I think, Yakir's graphs and Scholten's graphs. So let's go here. And so Jan Scholten is up here. And let's do default graph. So you can see this is Jan Scholten, and you can, either go in through the series, and it will give you, now if you want to filter through here, you can do that as well. It will give you the remedies in each series, lanthanides. You can go back here and go through stages, and then it shows you the different stages. And then it will tell you the remedies in that stage. I think the other place you can also get to it is minerals. And then if you come through minerals, you still have Jan Scholten here. So then you get the whole periodic table. And then you can filter using that. So Alicia, could you, I see you raised your hand. Could you type your question into the chat? And so we also have a clipboard here, you see. So if you want it to filter, so you can go to Jan Scholten, and then you see it says graph from clipboard, and it shows you the darker the remedy, the stronger its presence on your current clipboard. And the lighter the remedy, the weaker the presence, or the lighter the presence of that remedy. So you can also do this. So, and then for Yakir's graphs, we are still working. So we do have, some of her work here in the kingdom graphs, but to see the full graph and to actually work with it, you would come to reference plus up here, and you see we have Yakir. And so you've got ancient plants, which she's working on right now. And then her schema from her book Plants is here. And all of that information is over here. We are still working to put this information in Kingdom Graphs, but until such time, we have given the graphs up here in Reference Plus. Go back to that here. You can zoom in and zoom out if it's too small, the writing. And this is her big chart with all the different stages and columns. So there's a question from Tanya, which says, I would like you to demonstrate how to include a section in the Viva program. Hi, Tanya. I'm not sure what you mean in Brazil. Oh, you clarified. We use who is very cold and who is very hot. And I would like to add these headings with their respective remedies. Okay, so I'm trying to understand what exactly you're looking for. So for somebody who's very cold, generally here, the rubric in English is lack of vital heat. And so for somebody who's very cold, so you're saying you would like to add these headings. So would you like to add these as custom filters? I guess is the question. Can you, Brigitte, so just clarify, please, Tanya, and then I will, I'll be happy to explain that. Then Brigitte is asking, can you pull up single remedy rubrics for particular symptoms to search for smaller remedies. Um, you're saying, can we pull up single remedy rubrics regardless of the remedy for symptoms? So that, um, I don't know if there is a way to do that. Um, could you also show how to ask for more remedies? So let me handle these one by one. So Bridget, I don't know that you can ask the program if you put in a result. I think I'm trying to think through this. So I think what you would have to do is like put your symptom in global search. That's what I would do. I would put my symptom to be as specific as possible in global search, but it's very likely uh, if it's a combination of, if it's a combined rubric type of symptom or search here, then obviously I think it's going to be very unusual for you to pull up a single remedy. Um, And I think without knowing some area, I think you would have to scroll through a lot of results to find the single. It's not possible to find single remedy rubrics based on a symptom search only. I think a symptom search will yield all the rubrics that fit that symptom, and then you would have to kind of scroll through. It's a very good question. I don't think the program is able to do that. But I will ask also, I will ask the technical team. I think you have to, put in a clear symptom search and then you get what you get. And then you have to see if there are any rubrics. What I would do is probably put them, put that entire search on a clipboard, and then you wouldn't have to scroll through a ton of results. You could see it very quickly on the clipboard. Actually, that's what I would do. Um, Vibhuti, you're saying, could you also show how to ask for two and more remedies? Yes, that is simple. That would be, so you would just go back to advanced search. Um, Now, the question is, do you have those two remedies in mind, or do you have a kingdom in mind, right? Because, or if it's Ruta, and I'm happy to have one more remedy in there, but Ruta needs to be in there, then you can say two or less, right? And we can run this search if you. So let's not do all sections. Let's do extremities because that's probably the largest section for Ruta. So let's do extremities. And so now what I'm telling the program is find me Ruta in extremities in the complete with either single remedy rubrics or two remedy rubrics. So let's do this. So now you've got Ruta. Actually, there are no two remedy rubrics. Let's see. Let's go all the way down. So here you see there are actually, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong place. I was thinking that it would display the second remedy as well. But you see here, there are these are all, the ones that say two are all two remedy rubrics, and Ruta, it shows you if Ruta is a strong presence in that rubric or not. So extremities, pain, sore, bruised leg, walking after. Ruta is a number 4, and it's a two remedy rubric. This similarly for this one. Of course, I picked extremities in which Ruta has a very strong presence. But you can see, so it's pulled up both one and two remedy rubrics in which Ruta is there. Okay. So Diana is asking, can you show how to work with Genie? Yeah, Vibhuti, I got that. So ruta silica fos, yes. What you can do is because we asked for ruta, because that's the remedy of interest at the moment to us, but we're willing to see other rubrics in which there is one other remedy. It will only show you ruta, but you can certainly, let's say, let's add another clipboard. I could always just click on this and put it on the clipboard. And then, you can see what the other remedy is. Of course, no surprise, Russ comes up. And then you can just go, let's see, I'm just going to put a bunch of them. And then let's see what comes up. So you see here, you've got a bunch of different ones, and then Ruta is in all of them. So you could definitely see that play also, see which other remedies come up. Stylianos is asking how to hide remedies from the repertory during global search. So when he does a global search, there are remedies he doesn't want to see. I'm assuming that's what it is. You can't hide them from global search. So the filter is to pull up certain remedies, but the filter is not to filter out certain remedies. But what you can do is so let's see if I still have the excitable search. But yeah, that was filtered. Okay, so let's say excitable and in the same remedy as fear within 4 words of dark. So let's say I ran that search. And then you want to filter out certain remedies. Oh, shoot, sorry, I ran that. Okay, let me get rid of that and then run it again. That bowel nosodes filter was still there. Okay, so now I have 339 remedies. And what I'm going to do is open another clipboard and put these on there. And now this is up here. So you can certainly, I mean, and nobody really goes down all the way to the 25th or the 50th remedy, right? So I mean, and this is somewhat of a generic search. It's not a hugely characteristic search. So we have a lot of remedies that pulled up. But let's say you got 20 remedies because you ran a good quality search. You can always come up here and then you see here, you can say limit view to multiple remedies. I'm not going to do that here because there's 337, but let's say, let's put another thing in there. Remedy as head pain pressing. I don't know if that's going to reduce those. Let's try it. I hope I get a lot less remedies than 337. Okay, so still quite a few. So let's put this result on the clipboard. And I'm going to take the first one off. Okay, so now you could come up here and say limit view to multiple remedies. And then you see these are all the remedies in the order in which they appear. So you could certainly, go here and you can filter out certain remedies and say, I just want to see, these like Lycinum and Platina and I mean, these are somewhat manic remedies, so let's say apply. And then you filtered out everything else. So it's a few more clicks, but we are not filtering out anything at the global search level. That's not possible. I think if there are enough people who ask how to do this, then it might be something that we add to the program. Okay. So, Dana, you asked about Genie. I think if we have enough time, then I will certainly show how to work with Genie. Let's see what the questions are first. Okay, so thank you, Mandy, for answering some of these questions. Bipin is asking how to find out particular symptom from superclass. For example, symptom reproaches himself, and you want to find out this symptom from only the first superclass, then how to do it. Okay, so the first superclass is the Magnolidae. So I mean, and assuming actually the classification names for the first, second, third, right? Then all you have to do is, so let's say Actually, you don't even have to do this, but it's easier. Let's do it from here. There's multiple ways you can go at it. So I would just put reproach. Let's put reproach and then see what comes up, right? And then you have all these rubrics, right? And these are from the reliable. So let's say somebody is working with the complete. So let's go to the complete. Um, so you said reproaches himself, right, Bipin? So obviously, so there's ailments from, I don't know if you want that, but there's reproaches oneself. So you could just put, let's do another clipboard, reproaches oneself, okay? And then I have that, and I mean, there's a lot of oneselfs. Those are sub rubrics. I'm assuming those are all up there in the bigger rubric as well. And then the rest are or others. You could maybe put this one, and then you could also, we did oneself, and then we could probably also do this, ailments from. Um, so let's say we did all these, and you might only want the one, you could just come up here in the filter section, kingdom, and then I'm gonna put magnolids. Let's do there. And so we don't want the family. We don't want the order. We want the subclass, right? Um, so I'm going to put magnolity, and then these are subclass. I think we don't have, so you said superclass. So we don't have the superclass yet in the filters. So again, what I would recommend is since Dr. Rajan has pretty much clarified um, which sub-classifications go under the first superclass in addition to the magnolids. You can put your left-hand side of first row and the gastropods, and I mean, it would be much more, but the work is underway, Bipin. So in the meantime, while we include the superclass, so you can see the subclasses here, but while we include the superclass, you could potentially create custom filters with some of those categories in them. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. Yeah, I understood your question, Bipin, but I think that we are still, the work is happening at the moment to create the filters for the different superclasses. But in the meantime, you could create a custom filter that all of the categories in the first superclass, create those through that category, and then you could filter, these rubrics, just these rubrics for that filter. Bridget is asking, can we filter out polycrest so only small remedies appear? Yes. You could go to strategies here, and you see you can click this small remedy. You don't have to, you can unselect that because maybe, I don't know if that's your like strategy all the time, but you could certainly do this and unselect that so it's not set up as your default strategy. And then I could run that. And then, I mean, we still have the reproaching rubrics up here, but you could have whatever else, but it would then pull up all of the small remedies. These are all the small remedies. And so that, yes, that's one easy way. Okay. Superclasses are in the Kingdom Graph guide, but I don't know if they will filter from there. So let's change the strategy. Oops, sorry. Let's change the strategy and go back to most rubrics. Okay. And then I'm going to try and see if I can filter. Okay, superclasses, superclass one. And so I don't know if it did that. Aurum is in here, carcinosin. I don't, all those stuff is aggregate, but then plutonium. I don't think it filtered it. So we do have, so I think this is similar to the bowel nosode relationships. I think it shows you what's there, but it doesn't actually do the filter from the clipboard. So yeah, if you go here, it shows you what is there, and it tells you all the remedies, but it's not actually filtering. If I do that, no, it's not filtering. So I think you would have to create a custom filter for the super classes until we have that embedded in the program. Let us do a short tutorial on the Genie module. So I see there's one more message. How do I go to Jan's periodic table? Okay, sure. So when you come to Kingdom Graphs, there are two places to find Jan's periodic table. One is more for study purposes, which is when you are here, and we're going to do default graph. So the default graph shows you actually what is in his periodic table, like what is his concept of minerals. And so you can learn about like the different stages or the different series. And here they are, the different series. But to actually see the pictorial representation and to use it in filtering, you would go through the minerals overview, and then you would come to Jan Scholten. And there are others, right? There's lanthanides, and there's Rajan's work, and Morrison's carbons, and Massimo's work. So you would come to Jan, and then you would just here. And this is how. So this, it is now filtering clipboard 5 because it's the active clipboard. And here you can see what remedies come up more strongly. And so, I mean, of course, you could change that, and then this will change. So that's how you can get to Jan's periodic table. Natalia is asking how to undo the small remedy search. To undo the small remedy search, you come to this last icon on your graph screen, which says apply strategy. See? And then you have to make sure it will select it. This is always checked. So whatever strategy you choose becomes your ongoing strategy. So when you want to just do small remedy, let's say for one case, but you don't want to let it be your ongoing strategy, make sure you uncheck the select as default box. That's what you do to get out of it. Hasnat is asking, do I have to buy yarn? I don't see the option. No, you shouldn't have to. That is part of Kingdom Graphs. You should be able to see both of those things when you go to Kingdom Graphs. You should be able to see your minerals overview. And then when you scroll down, there will be Jan Scholten down here. So you should be able to see that. Stylianos is asking, can you give an example with concepts? I cannot move to the right of the screen in order to see all sections in the analysis. For what? Mandy, could you clarify? What does he want to see an example of with concepts? Because I went through a bunch of different things. Are we still talking about filtering out certain remedies? Because I think that was his original question. Okay, so while I get clarification on that question, I'm going to clean this up and actually turn Genie on. Okay, so when you have Genie, and I'm already signed in, but I want to explain this to the people in case you have it and had trouble or might get it. When you open your program and you have Genie, the first thing you will get is a pop-up screen that asks you to log in. If you're a new user of Synergy Viva, then you don't have any prior login. So in that case, you have to say sign up at the bottom of the pop-up, there's a sign up, and you create a sign up, and then you log in with that sign up, and that login is your login for Genie. but and also your patient management system. So it's going to lock your patient management system with that with that login information. So if you're traveling or I don't know, loaning your computer out to someone or whatever, you can log out of your patient management so your data is secure. For those people who buy Genie and already had Viva and already had a login and have cases in their Viva or in their SHS, um, make sure that when you log into Genie, you actually don't log in. You go to sign up, and then you sign up with the same login credentials that you have for your patient management. And that because after Genie, after you have Genie, your login for Genie and patient management is the same. So make sure you're logging into Genie with your patient management uh, login credentials. Otherwise, you won't be able to see your cases. Okay. Okay. So Genie is sort of envisaged as a homeopathic assistant. It's not just an AI program. It has that component to it, but it's actually an assistant. And so in addition to the AI piece of it, which is, the search bar is here, you can type anything. It also tries to provide a roadmap into the program. And so you can use Genie to access information within the program or through AI. So let's say that you are looking for remedies. So when you click on the remedies, you get a menu basically. And here are all the things that you can do. You can get information about a remedy. You can compare and contrast two different remedies. You can get the sensation of a remedy. You can get doctrine of signature information. You can search within, you can get rubrics, and then deep view, which is another module for deeper analysis. And in each of these options, you can see on the left-hand side is Genie, and on the right-hand side is Viva. So for all of these different options, you can see that there are choices to either use Genie or Viva. And so some of these, for example, is just Genie. You can do research, or if you're looking within a remedy or you need rubrics, etc. You can, so some are a combination of Genie and Viva, and some is just Genie, some is just Viva. Same thing in repertories. Here are the choices for what you can do with a repertory. Help me find rubrics, open a repertory, search, again, compare and contrast, etc. Many people don't know how to find reverse repertories, so it will take you to the reverse repertory. And then if you make additions to a repertory or are building your own repertory, then we have this other module. This is really interesting because you can, and this is all Genie. So often patients come to us with diagnoses or clinical conditions that maybe you don't know much about or have not prescribed for before. This is a really good place to get that kind of information. So, for example, you can ask, what is, let's see, there. You can, you know, um, you can get information about a diagnosis that a patient has come for that you didn't know. So it will give you, this is just clinical information, right? If I go back, I can go back here and go back to this and say clinical conditions, give me the top remedies for the following condition. And so in this case, the question is already built in for you, and all you have to do is type the complaint. Okay, and it will tell you what symptoms it's using to find those remedies. You can also say what are, let's say you don't want, and you shouldn't take the top five remedies that Genie gives you for a particular condition, and then depending on some of these symptoms, just choose one and give it to your patient, right? You shouldn't do that. But you can say, what are the top rubrics for Sjogren's disease? So you see, it gives you rubrics for a particular condition that you didn't know about. So you can research the condition, you can ask for rubrics that apply to that, because obviously, if you didn't know the condition, it's harder to find those rubrics. And then if you like any of these, you can click on one of them and it will take you to that rubric within the repertory and you can add it to your clipboard. Um, okay. So, Bipin, like Mandy mentioned in the chat, all of these trainings are recorded and put on YouTube. So you can always go and access any of the more recent trainings, but also all of the old trainings, and you can watch them as often as you like. Let's see. What is the price? Natalia, so you can find this information on the website, but you can also reach out to your sales representative and they can help you with that. Okay, so I'm going to close that and then you can scroll back. The other thing is that earlier you were keeping your chats forever, but now I want to say this, that the chats are only kept for 30 days. I mean, assuming that you're looking for something that's in the moment for a patient who came, and once you've used that information, you're done with it. If you're done with it, that's not a problem. But if you do have information that you like and you want to go back and refer to it again, make sure that you copy and paste it into a Word document or a text, some kind of text file to save it, because after 30 days, in order to keep keep your sort of chat history clean, it will be deleted. Okay, so you can now keep going on the same chat, or you can always, if you click on new chat, then it will bring you back to the main screen. So for example, here we can do, let's say, compare. Oh, so when you do this, it brings you to compare remedies, which I have shown in other training sessions, but we can, if people want to know how to do that, we can do that. But you can do differentiate. You can say, give the differentiating symptoms of pulsatilla and staphysagria. So you can look at that, but you can also, in acutes, for example, you can say, if I have a UTI with these symptoms, can you differentiate between pulsatilla and staphysagria? So that, sorry, I was just reading the chat to see if anything else is. So while it does that, okay, so here it is. So it will give you the differentiating information between pulsatilla and staphysagria in tabular form. So you can see it's a mind, physical, modalities, and generals. And it will also give you the keynotes for those remedies. But I could also say, for example, let's do this. Give the Okay, differentiate. Sorry, let's do this. Differentiate between podophyllum and aloe for the treatment of, oops, diarrhea. So you could also do a compare and contrast in relation to an acute. Um, Let's see if we have any other questions. Can we save a patient or open? Yes, there is a whole patient management system, Claudia, so I can also show that. Um, Stylianos is asking queries with Genie is with payment. Yes. So when you get Genie, you get a certain number of questions for free, uh, and roughly about 300 questions. So when you buy the module, you get 300 questions for free, um, or a certain number of tokens, actually. So you can see when you click on this, it shows you the cost. And that cost me zero point zero 0.01. So, okay, so that's here. Let's go here. So you can see my cost is in US dollars, and I have 46 million tokens, and I have used half. So I have that many left. And the currency it shows me is USD, in USD. So you can see your remaining I don't know, bank account or Genie account in tokens and dollars. And so here, when I come here, so you can see, if you can see this pop up, it actually, I used zero point zero 0.01 cents to run that query. And I think you get $10 or something. So I mean, each query is 1/100th of a cent, which is 1/100th of a dollar. So you get a lot of questions to start, but once you run out, then you can go back on the website and buy tokens in the amount of $5 at a time. It will be different currency depending on where you are. But for me, for example, I can buy them in bunches of $5, which is not excessive. In most currencies, it is not excessive, and it gives you a lot. So you don't run out very quickly. Um, Okay. And then, so let's see. Um, Claudia is asking about saving a patient. So this is sort of a very short overview of Genie. And as I said, the thing to understand is that it's like an assistant. You can get it to get information, do a compare contrast, understand about things, help you navigate the program. And so if you know what you want to do, then, sorry, let me close that out. You can basically come here and then decide what it is that you want to do, and then go into each of these menus more deeply to find what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to open the patient management program. So here is patient management, Claudia, and you have the choice to create a new patient, to save. So you see now I have 5 clipboards, right? I can save them all or none or some. Um, and I can either save them to like creating a new chart, or I can save to an existing patient that I already have. And here I can view my patients. Um, so I just reinstalled my program yesterday. And so I have no patients, I think, because I didn't restore my patient backup. So I have no patient data. But what we can do is we can create a new patient, and let's call them Synergy Viva. And then and so you can fill in as much or as little of this information, right? Patient type is generally put there in case you have a human or an animal patient. Gender, status, birth date, email address, referrals, things like that, phone number, address. And then here is your session, right? So this is today's date, and then you can put in as much information as you like. I'm gonna say reproaches himself, aggravated. I'm just pulling up stuff from what came up during the session. And I can put in whatever notes I want. Previously treated with staff, whatever. You can put stuff in, whether they have a medical diagnosis. In patient notes, you can actually, this is an unlimited text box, so you can actually copy and paste your entire patient interview, whatever notes you made in here, or when the patient walks in the door, a new patient, I mean, you could just open this chart and then type in here, and it will save everything. And then whatever comments you have, any attachments, maybe they have pictures, photos that they gave you of what it looked like when it started or things like that. And then what you prescribe, the remedy that you gave them. And so let's put pulse, for example, 200C. And then when I go to say save, it will ask me, because I did all this work, it will ask me which clipboard do I want associated with this patient chart. So I'm actually going to just use clipboard 5 because that's the one, and say save. And you get a pop-up here that says patient saved successfully, and it creates a session line with the remedy that I gave. So now you can imagine if that patient comes back next month, and I will open, so let me show you how I do that. So now the patient saved, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back and say view patients. So now I have my patient from today. Now you can, so I can say open. Whoa, what happened here? Let's see. Open here. Okay, I hadn't selected the chart. Okay, so here's your patient, Synergy Viva. It takes you all the way down to the session line. So you can view this if you want, or I can just pretend like I did more work and now I have 4 more sessions. So I can go back in here. Now this is a new session. It's opening it here as a new session. You see all the symptoms and everything is gone. So now you can make new notes for today's session, assuming it's now at some point in the future. And then when you click on save, and I don't know if it will do that. Yes, so let's say now I have 4 more clipboards for this person, and I say save. Now it created me a second session line, which you can assume is like 517 or something, and it has 4 clipboards. So now I can go back to the old session, which was the original 3 clipboards and the notes I had made, or the latest session where I didn't make any notes, but I added 4 more clipboards. So you see now this is the way it would keep your patient files. And so you can always go back and say create new patient, and now you have another patient here. So one is my old patient, Synergy Viva, and now I have another patient. This is a new patient. And so all the patients, so I'm going to close this, all the patients you create will basically show up here as patient lines. You can also, you can, if I had, let's say, a lot of patients, if I had 200 patients and I wanted to search for Synergy Viva, then I could just type here, I could say, I could put S and it would show me all the patients that start with S and then, or Y, SY, and then it would pull up. So there are different ways to search, either by remedy, last name, first name, or consult date. So there's different ways to also search for your patient to pull them up, assuming there's a lot. Okay. So Stylianos is asking that once he restored his patients, he got them doubled up. And so the thing is when you restore and the program senses that you already have a patient of that name, it asks you, do you want to keep, restoring this patient? Do you want to skip this patient, or do you want to replace this patient? So if your patient files are already there in the system and then you're restoring a backup, make sure that you're not restoring the whole backup. Maybe you just want 3 patients added back. Or if you're restoring the whole thing and there are certain patients still in the system and you don't say skip or replace, then it's going to create two sessions. I mean, it's going to create, a different patient file because it doesn't want to automatically override your existing file. So let's say now I back this up, and I have a patient backup with the patients in it that I have currently here. If I make certain changes in the program and then I feel, or maybe I took the other computer to the clinic and I added a new patient there and I backed that up. Now I have a backup that has Synergy Viva from this backup and the new patient. When you go back to restore, you only want to add the new patient. So make sure in the restore, you only add the new patient in. If you restore the entire backup, it's going to ask you, Synergy Viva already exists. Do you want to skip this restore, replace it, or keep on restoring? If you say keep on restoring, you're going to get two Synergy Vivas. Andreas. Hi, Andreas. Does restoring all 200 patients at once work with you? Yes, it has. I have done that, and it does work. If you're restoring in a clean program, and you don't have any other patients in there, and none of those 200 are in there, then go ahead and restore them. If you have other patients that are also in your restore, just do what I just said to Stylianos, which is make sure you either skip or replace existing patient files. Stylianos, I would say you would now, if your patients are doubled up, there is really no way to go back to a single patient other than a few patients at a time. You have to decide which is the later file and keep that and delete the other one, and then add information to the file that you've kept. Don't keep both files. That's just so confusing. No, Andreas, if that happens, then we should take a look in tech support, why you're only able to restore 5 at a time. The only time that I have known that to happen is if one of your files either got corrupted, and what is happening is each time you restore, it keeps adding information to that one file, and that one file gets extremely large so that when you try and restore, it can't do more than 5 at a time. This has happened before, and that happens usually when there is some corruption in one of the files. So I think the best thing would be if you came to tech support and we took a look at it. Stylianos, I don't know what to say. You're saying you have 1,000 patients that have been duplicated. Um, the other thing is that it shows you the last session date um, um, under consultation. And so let's say I have two Synergy Vivas, and one of them says 0501 and the other one, or no, one of them says 0109. So the 1st of September, and one of them says the 5th of September. Then I would just keep the 5th of September. You can also just spot check maybe 10 of the patients and make sure that the sessions you have in the 1st of September file are also in the 5th of September file. And then when that happens, I would just delete the older session patients. I hope that makes sense. But this happened to me once, and I only had about 200, 250 patients, and they all doubled up, and there was no other way to clean them up. Yes, Eve. Hello. So just type your question here in chat. I'm monitoring chat, and so is Mandy. So, oh, we're past the hour. Sorry. We're at 12:07 my time. So, thank you so much for all your questions and your engagement. Remember, you can always send me the questions ahead of time, and I'm here the first Friday of every month to answer whatever questions you have, or if you send me things ahead of time, I will definitely start with those. And I really enjoy interacting with everyone and asking everyone, like answering everyone's questions. Thank you. There were the two questions. So we are to go back quickly to Wilma. We will work on getting a separate bowel nosodes filter. In the meantime, it's really going to take you a minute to create a custom filter. Same to Bipin, I think, or the person who asked about super classes. And I really liked this idea of being able to filter out remedies, which we don't have because generally we're filtering for remedies. So I'll keep that at the back of my mind. See if other there's more interest in this. Then this can be something that can be placed on our technical to-do list for the future. And once again, all of the trainings and cases and other tutorials are all on our Synergy channel on YouTube. You can see them there. You can download them. You can save, you can, view them as often as possible. And then yes, Stylianos, definitely please mail me. And Mandy is Mandy at synergyhomeopathic.com. And I am Roopali, Roopali at synergyhomeopathic.com. Please send us all your questions. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a wonderful September.